Welcome to Voices, a production of the Atlantic Caribbean Union of Seventh-day Adventist. I'm your host, Barry Shane Saunders. While this program is being aired on television or streamed on the internet, there will be some who can hear it but can't see it. Conversely, there will be some who can see it but can't hear it. Still, there will be some who can see it and hear it but cannot understand it. In addition, there will be some who can see it, hear it, and understand it, but cannot lift a remote to change the channel. Today on Voices, we'll be discussing a very, very important ministry in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, special needs. A special needs ministry seeks to facilitate the acceptance, support, and inclusion of all of our special needs members. This global ministry encompasses those that are deaf, blind, and those with physical, mental health, and emotional wellness challenges, and orphans. It works on the concept that all are gifted, needed, and treasured. On this edition of Voices, we'll be talking with a very important family, the Belizaire family. Belizaire, welcome to Voices.
Thank you.
All right. So, Elder Belizaire, I'm going to ask all of you to introduce yourselves.
My name is Wilfred Belizaire.
My name is Joshua Belizaire. And this is my sister. Her name is Wilfrenique Belizaire.
Beautiful. So let's start with you, Elder Belizaire. Tell us a little bit about your daughter and some of the challenges she's faced.
Well, my daughter is a beautiful child of God, whom I love very much. And she's a bubble of joy to be around, even now that she's in the stages of where we as parents go through these growing pains along with them. But she loves the Lord, and she's also a special needs child, and her special need is she's deaf.
Okay.
She's hearing impaired.
Okay. When did you find out about her condition?
For me personally, it was very early on as a child. I was not aware because I kept her most of my life while her mother went to work, and I brought her during the evening times. But so when I would pick her up in the mornings, I would sing to her songs like Jesus Love Me, This I Know, and clap hand for daddy until mama come. And as we know, all little children are excited about those songs. Right. And after a while, I just began to notice very early on that there was no response, right. And I became concerned, not being aware of it. But as she began to get older, like when she became like around 1, and at that stage, a child have understanding. Yeah. And when they're doing things that seems inappropriate, or when you think that they're ignoring you as children and being rude, I find myself, at times being frustrated. Okay. And I would think that, this child growing up to be rude, not knowing that she was beginning to have hearing challenges very early on. And it wasn't until my big brother, who is my youngest brother, came from the United States, and I was speaking to him about it, and he said that he saw a movie similar to that. And he said, haven't you ever thought that maybe she is deaf?
Okay.
And I say, deaf? I say, no, man. But then I thought about it, and I say, you know what, it could be so. So I mentioned it to her mother, and the very next day, I think it was, we went to have her tested. Okay. And to discover that she was losing her hearing.
Okay. What are some of the challenges you face as parents with a special needs child?
The challenges that I would say we faced is very early on beginning to wonder on how are we going to communicate with our child. Okay. How are we going to get her all the help that is within our ability to be able to give her. Around that same time, I had about maybe, was beginning to come back into faith with Christ. Right. And so I began to put these issues before the Lord.
Okay.
And I was reminded that, Wilfred, don't you remember? And I recognized this to be the voice of the Holy Spirit, because I would say, before my daughter even came around, even my son, I remembered specifically that I spoke to my dad when he was alive, who was a minister of the gospel, not from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I told him that, I believe the Lord is speaking to me to get involved in a deaf ministry.
Right.
But, I kind of brushed it off and ignored it. And when that happened, I always remembered to myself, if only
Wow.
I had listened.
Wow.
But at that time, too, I was not really identifying the voice of the Lord, only to know that it was his voice, but not really connecting it that here, sometime later, I ended up with a special needs child.
Tell yourself. That's phenomenal. Tell me, what are some of the discouraging things or inappropriate things that you would hear from time to time that you would have to educate people with?
I cannot recall, with me personally, in all sincerity, any discouraging comments.
Awesome.
I was told by a few of the teachers of other concerned parents and persons that they were aware of who, kind of shunned from the public because of their special needs children. And they would say to me that they would make reference to me and my daughter and my son. That's Wilfrenique, my daughter who's hearing impaired, and my son who's not hearing impaired, that y'all need to speak with Wilfrenique's father because he takes his daughter everywhere. And that's what I did.
Okay, that's awesome. So tell me, how has it been growing up with a special needs person?
For me, it's been a life learning, journey. It's been fun for me because I never really saw her as a special needs child.
Right.
I didn't treat her any different.
Beautiful.
And very early on, before even, going to a school for the deaf, I began working along with her to read lips.
Okay.
So she was very good at that very early on. But of course, as she got older and was enrolled in a school, she kind of merged with the other kids and got lazy, kind of, in reading lips.
Okay.
So she signs mostly. And as she began to get older, she would say to me, she tired signing. She wanted to be able to speak and read lips.
Okay.
So, it was never a right time to get it done anymore because I was out, trying to make a living to help, me and along with her mother to help her with her needs while caring for my son at the same time.
So it has been a blessing to you to have her in your family.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
'Cause
Still
it,
is.
It forced you to go into the ministry that you were led to go into before you wanted to go into it.
Yes.
Amen. Well, Fernie, you. All right, so let me try my sign language. Do you feel any different from any other girl your age who can hear and speak?
It's hard for deaf friends who could speak good, but they try help her to speak well, and other people, but it's hard for her to speak.
Okay. Ask her if she feels welcome in church, first of all.
Do people like you? See, some.
Some?
Yeah.
Okay. What about society? What about society
Like,
out in public?
school, wherever you go, people like you. Yeah.
Okay. but not in church so much. Why is that? Why?
I can share a little about that.
Yes.
And she is here, communicate, make sure she understands. She has friends, brothers and sisters in the church, even who she associate with. I can think of especially the Charlton family, Brother Hillard Charlton and Sister Althea Charlton, along with their kids, Gabriella, Jay, Hillary, and Alicia. Over the years, we have become more than just brothers and sisters in the faith,
Right.
more than just friends. We're a family.
Right.
In addition to that, the entire church of Grandstand, the Grandstand Seventh-day Adventist Church, has been very supportive from day one when I became a part of the membership there. What I believe she's trying to explain is at times when I'm out front and I sign to her or to them, the attention is drawn on them, so it makes her kind of feel uncomfortable at times.
Okay.
Because prior to that, we had, I think, 2 boys and 3 girls. Majority was from her class at the Center for the Deaf. And there was a thriving ministry we had begun at Grandstand, and the children had been coming along with me, sometimes bringing their other siblings at the ministry, and was communicating with them. Some came because they wanted to learn how to communicate with their deaf sibling. Okay? And they've been coming for the better part of 3 years. Also, they have enjoyed the summer vacation, summer Bible schools at the time when Sister Moxie Pandora Moxie, was doing it at the Grandstand Seventh-day Adventist Church along with some other assistants. And they enjoyed that very well because it catered to just them. And they were taught baking skills. They were taught the very different crafts and arts and needlework, and so they enjoyed the time being at Grandstand, especially with me working along with them with the Bible stories. But I also had help because sign language for me, in terms of being able to grasp everything they say when they were communicating among themselves, was a little bit like a turtle pace for me. And so, but I had some great help by another one of her friends, and who was a much older friend of hers. Her name was Johnette Seeley, and she is challenged with her hearing, but she can hear. She can hear some, and she can speak clear enough for you to understand. Yes.
I want you to hold that point, right? Because when we come back, I want you to tell us exactly what you think our churches could do to be more special needs friendly. Okay? You're watching Voices. We'll be right back.
On Wednesday, May 16, 2018, all roads will lead to the Hillview Church for the 8th Annual Atlantic Caribbean Union Symposium, which begins at 7 p.m. Everyone is invited to come and be inspired by the video praise reports of what the Lord is doing through His people in the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. In addition to there being majestic music, Christian fellowship, and Thanksgiving, Pastor Leonard Johnson, Secretary-elect of the Inter-American Division, will give his final spiritual charge as President of the Atlantic Caribbean Union. So don't miss out on your blessing. We look forward to seeing you there. A very special invitation is extended to all members to attend the installation service for Pastor Peter Carr and Dr. Cheryl Rowe, the newly elected President and Secretary of the Atlantic Caribbean Union. That will be held at the Grandstand Church on Sabbath, May 19, 2018 at 11 a.m. Pastor Israel Leto, President of the Inter-American Division, will preside, performing what will be his last official function in our union before his retirement, which becomes effective August 1, 2018. He will be assisted by Dr. Ellie Henry, Dr. Filiberto Verduzco, and Pastor Leonard Johnson. We look forward to seeing you there.
Welcome back to Voices. For those of you who are just joining us, we are with the Belizaire family from the Grandstown Seventh-day Adventist Church. And our topic today is special needs. Elder Belizaire, when we left off, we were talking about how the churches, our church, not Grandstown alone, but all of our churches, can be more special needs friendly. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm willing to work along with anyone. And we have a very talented young lady who is a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She's not only a member, but she's also a trained teacher who understands signing exact English and also the ASL sign language, which is the American Sign Language, which is an international sign language that all students will do well to know.
So you spoke about ASL and as the international language, that's the American standard.
Yes.
I know there's an English version as well. What's the difference in terms of how you use it around home?
Well, I use signing exact English
because
that's my first introduction to sign language at the Center for the Deaf. You know, me and my son, they were holding classes there, and we attended, and it was all up to the individual, you know, how far they would excel in it. Because I knew what God had called me to very early on, and because the communication between me and my daughter was kind of, I would say, very low in terms of being able to sign to her and understand her when she's speaking to me. Because prior to that, it was only her mother who knew some sign and was able to communicate with her. And between the two of them, they would always crack, you know, little wise jokes and cracks about me, and I couldn't understand. So I decided to do something about it, and also remembering, you know, that God had already, you know, called me to start a ministry with the deaf children, and even if it just began with my daughter. And so it came a time, like I said, you know, we did the introduction to sign language, and I practiced for some 6 months. I bought the book along with the leaflet that they gave me, and I would practice, and I would practice, and I would practice and lock into memory. And soon my robotic movements became sort of like ballerina.
A little more fluent.
Yes, a little more fluent in signing. And one day she was speaking with her mother at my house, and, you know, I just went along with it. And I watched and I observed and I understood what they were saying. And then after, you know, her mother left from coming to see her, because she stayed with me 3 to 4 times out of the week. Me and her mother shared her between ourselves. And I said to her in sign language, I understood everything you and your mother was saying about me. And you should have seen the expression, one of surprise, but one of shock that, that, you know, Daddy was there listening, or, you know, basically observing all that time. So he understands.
Awesome. God gave you that gift, the gift of understanding sign language. So Josh, you've been signing for Wilfrenique all that time. How did you get into sign language? Tell us about what motivated you having a special needs sister.
I was always into it as a young boy. Of course, anyone would want to talk to their sister, but they want to understand what they're saying, especially when things happen in those whatever, and you're all playing or whatever, hiding from Daddy, and you want to communicate and let her know what's going on or protect her. So we started, we always had our own little way of speaking to each other. So how we would speak is, instead of a bunch of signs, we would throw little signs in it, but we would have a lot of action in it, and then we make certain actions in where if I do it, I don't have to sign, or she knows what I mean.
Okay.
So, also, lastly, they had summer schools. They have summer schools, but they also bring hearing children there also. So I went and I learned sign language. So all that combined, just make one little language for us.
So you took a special, the regular sign language course, and then you and Wilfrenique, you all developed your own codes and your own special
But
sign
Daddy wouldn't know
language,
what we saying.
so your father wouldn't know. That's really great.
Yeah.
So tell me, how do the rest of your family relate to you now?
I would say my mommy's side of the family, they would, some of them who know her, they would ask me about her, ask if she okay with her. And the thing is, they text me and pressure me a lot. Teach me sign language, teach me sign language.
That's
And I
what I
was like,
thought.
oh my, you know? So they would press me a lot. They want me to teach them sign language so they could know also.
So, Josh, I come to you. Do you feel like because of your sister, this could be a developing ministry within the Adventist Church that would assist other churches to reach out to special needs, hearing impaired individuals?
Yes, it could, yeah. Because also, and just, as we could say, it ain't just her who's deaf in the Bahamas. And as Dad said, we had other kids also coming to Grantstown, and they were learning about God, and even a few of them got baptized.
One in particular.
Yeah,
Very
one
good.
in particular. So we need more emphasis on it, because if we could do that just by us doing that alone, with God's help, whatever, then imagine if all us got on it, we could have a lot of deaf kids giving
Awesome.
their life to God.
Awesome. So, as we consider this special needs ministries, right? I remember one day we had a prayer meeting in the park, and there was a guy standing off, and you could see that he was interested, but he didn't understand what was happening. So I tried a little sign language, and I realized during the prayer, I prayed with him in sign, and then I realized that he was hearing impaired. How do you feel? Either one of you can answer. How do you feel we as Adventists could be more intentional about getting our special needs persons interested in the gospel and in presenting the gospel to the persons they associate with?
But at least I could say, especially we have a lot of young deaf kids, we need more programs for them. Because I would be honest, they have a lot of programs, especially their school, give them a lot of programs, but when they come to the church, you really know nothing for them to really do. We had one where even the summer school that we did have, that Miss Moxie led in, she helped, and they enjoyed that. They still talk that. When I look at them, son, I still talk about it to this day. So we need more programs that they be enrolled in, where they could have fun and, know the joy of God.
Awesome. Brother Belizaire.
Yes, I agree with my son. We need more programs, even if we just start with about one, and more so that the membership of the church on the whole, the movement of the Seventh-day Adventists on the whole, that wherever they see them, they won't necessarily make them feel like, they are, special needs in terms of second-class citizen.
Right.
Because
Right.
other than children being deaf, they also have feelings and they can hear, and sometimes they can misunderstand you. And yes, they get themselves into trouble at times because some of them may read what you're saying, and they can also get it wrong at times. So they normally get in trouble for school like that too, because they gossip among each other.
Yeah.
But like I said, Grandstand has been very supportive from the start. They, at the time when I contacted the parents, didn't have any vehicle to transport the children. We had a community service van that, they gave permission for myself and Brother Ricardo Reed, who at the time was head of the community services department. He also was the driver, and many times we basically babysit the children. Sometimes we didn't get home after church until in the earliest stages of it, until like 7, 8 o'clock, because some of the children we kept until their parent get home or till someone, was there to receive them so that they can be safe. The parents trusted us with their children. And a big help to that, like I mentioned earlier, was the Charlton family and also the Florville family. Sister Florville and her family catered to us on numerous of Sabbath, invited the children to their home to have Sabbath dinners, to communicate with them, and they received them as if they were a part of their own family. So the kids enjoyed those outings, and they could not wait for Sabbath for me to pick them up. The parents of those children were very supportive and very loving, towards me and my children. And, they loved the ministry. I just, by the help of God, had purchased a minivan to be able to facilitate that. I still, right now, has at least one child that comes, a friend of hers, that called me from time to time and say, pick her up. And she was with us today, but she has since then gone home.
Awesome. I want to challenge you. I want to challenge Joshua, and I want to challenge Wilfrenique to let us get together and start a small group ministry that would facilitate the development of special needs to the hearing impaired. We can do this. I just finished teaching sign language, the first basic sign language, to my pathfinders, and young people pick up things very, very quickly.
Agreed.
So if we can do that, we can start at where we are and have it catch on to the wider church. What do you think?
Yes, I think it's a great idea. And also, I believe that we would even have a driver on a bus to facilitate that if need be. Because Brother Huge Papal had spoken to me some 2-3 months ago that he has a bus and he's willing to step into that role. Me and him were supposed to get together and talk about that, and he's excited, along with, I think, his wife, and at least facilitating, if only just to do the driving, to be able to pick up children that are needed. Something I thought about too, and I haven't gotten to the school as yet, but I want to be able to speak with the teachers and speak to them, or anyone out there that is listening, that if you know of a child that or parent that is having these challenges and their children has not yet gotten to school, we can, at the Grandstand Seventh-day Adventist Church, be able to help the parents and the child, at least to introduce them to some kind of communication in sign languages, so that they won't feel closed out. And so whenever their child is introduced to school, they would at least have some idea on how to communicate with them.
And you can do it sharing the gospel as well.
Yes, sharing the gospel.
You can share the gospel with them at the same time you're teaching them the basics of sign language.
Yes.
I want to thank all of you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and be here with us today. Special Needs Ministry is a very, very important ministry in our church. It's just beginning to take wings. It's born on the concept that all are needed, treasured, and gifted. And as such, we could have, in this program, shortened the program and voice over, but we thought it important for you to see the difficulties or some of the challenges faced by individuals that live with special needs persons. I'm going to challenge you to do 3 things. First of all, look at our environment and see how we can make our environment more special needs friendly in all of our churches. Secondly, we have special needs persons who are unable to come out to church. Let's be deliberate about making them feel a part of our congregations, not by just calling, but making a deliberate effort to visit them from time to time. And finally, let's find ways to include them in ministry, have them share ministry to the persons who are also special needs and persons around them. It's going to take some effort, but we can do this. Thank you. You've been watching Voices, a production of the Atlantic Caribbean Union. Join us again next time.